Hey everyone, do you want to feel more athletic and move like you did when you were younger? Or do you have just this chronic pain that you can't seem to get rid of? If you're one of those, let me tell you about GOATA. But first of all, I'm Phillip Mitchell. I'm one of the holistic physical therapists here at Mitchell Holistic Health in the La Crosse area. And I want to tell you a little bit more about the GOATA approach. So over my career as a physical therapist, I've known for a while that sometimes we get too zeroed in on certain parts of the body. Let's say you have hip pain, and we just get zeroed in on the hip, and we don't think about what the knee, the ankle, and the back are all doing. And so I've been in search for a system or for some type of approach that addresses the body as one whole system. And the GOATA approach is just amazing. So GOATA stands for greatest of all time actions. And what they did is they looked at indigenous people, they looked at athletes, they studied thousands of hours worth of human movement. And what they found was they have a certain blueprint for how they're supposed to move. Now, the people who move really well are the ones who get hurt and they feel great. The people who don't move well are the ones who live with these chronic injuries, these chronic itises. They just keep getting hurt. And so what they found is there's like very clear patterns with the GOATA approach that you can look at with people and be like, hey, you're really likely to get hurt, or you move really well right here, or this is where your problem is. Uh, for instance, like people with back pain, let's say they've tried everything out there, injections, physical therapy, chiropractic care, and they're not getting anywhere. But maybe no one's ever looked at like how their ankle moves and how their foot interacts with the ground, or like basically you're looking at their foundation. If their foundation is crumbled, then you're going to see a lot of back issues. And so the beautiful thing about this approach is it's just a very unique approach in the fact that it looks at the whole body as a system. So one of the things they talk about is the fact that as humans, we're all hardwired to move a certain way. And so this is how we were all born. Like we were all born with this innate ability to move a certain way. And that's why you see babies and toddlers and young kids, they all move in the same pattern and they all develop the same way. And what you'll see is this is just how we were made to move. But the problem is over time, with poor posture, with the way we train, with our poor nutrition, there's a lot of things that go into it. But basically, we have lost that ability to move the way we're supposed to. And so the beautiful thing about that is you can fix it. Like you can go back in and you can hardwire your brain and you can hardwire your body to move the way it's supposed to again. And this has honestly provided relief to so many people that were just stuck getting hurt in the gym over and over, or like can't get over certain hip problems, certain back issues. And then when they started doing GOATA, they're like, this just feels so good. And then eventually their problem goes away because you're taking stress out of the body. So one of the things that GOATA really focuses on is like the whole musculoskeletal system and not just one part, like I said earlier. But the example I give people is like, what if you had compression in your cardiovascular system? We know that's bad. We know that's leading to a heart attack. And obviously that's not the outcome we want, but we never think about as a musculoskeletal system, what happens if we have compression in the whole system? And that's what GOATA tries to find. We try to find the areas that you're not moving well, and we try to decompress it. When you decompress the whole system, you start moving so much better, and you don't have to expend so much energy to move the way you're supposed to. And a lot of those aches and pains, they start going away because the joints have so much less stress on them. So the cool thing about this is we can give you some exercises, and the goal of this is to give you 5 minutes worth of exercises every day that you can start doing to rewire the body. Before I do that, I want to briefly give a little bit more insight into GOATA. So GOATA thinks about movement as a pressure system. That's the terminology they use. And really just think about when you're walking. The whole point of walking is you're going to load one leg, and then what you do is you transfer weight onto the other one, and then once you transfer, you have to release the weight off that leg. And so there's like 3 or 4 different phases to movement that you usually see problems with. And so as a GOATA certified physical therapist, we can find those areas of dysfunction, those areas that you're not moving, and we can retrain you to move better. So there are, I'm going to give you 3 exercises or positions that you can work on a day that are going to help start to rewire your brain. And then we're going to start on the ground. And the reason we're going to start on the ground, I know it might seem pretty easy, but the body needs support when it's learning to move. Just like kids, they don't come up and that they don't start running right when they learn to move. They start by crawling. They start with the support of the ground. So one of the keys to GOATA is making sure that you're supported as you learn to move better. Because if you try to jump through the hoops and get there too quickly, you end up moving the same way you used to because you haven't taken time to retrain the body. So I want to start with the 3 exercises that I want you to try at home, and they're not going to take long, but they feel amazing. And you just got to make sure you stay consistent with them. All right, so I'm going to show you exercise number 1. So the first exercise I got for you is, this is just a sitting position. So one of the things, instead of sitting on a couch with your hips way forward, one of the things we want to do is, couches lead to having your hips way up ahead of your rib cage, and that's usually a problem. So what I want to do is I want you to put your feet behind you, but I want you to turn your heels away. And so if I turn around, we're going to be sitting like this. So I want you just to sit back like this, where you're sitting back. You're getting your butt behind your rib cage. You're sitting nice and tall, and you're trying to sit on your heels. So what you're going to do, you're going to feel a lot of stress in your ankle. You're also going to feel a lot of stress like in your knees and in your hips as you do this. This is called seiza sitting. A lot of people in yoga know this concept where you're sitting back like that. But this is a position that you'll see a lot of indigenous people sit in because they don't have, they're not sitting on these like soft, comfy couches that ultimately in the long run are leading to poor movement patterns. Okay, so the second movement I want to talk about is called a bow hip stretch. Okay, so we're going to start on all fours here for the bow hip stretch. You're going to bring one hand back, and then you're going to have one hand forward, and then I want you to drop one leg under you, and then drop one leg behind you like this. Okay, so what you'll see is it's like a modified pigeon stretch. So we're going to have your chest is going to be rotated toward this knee, your head is going to be over your knee, and I want you to sit back into your hip. So if you look from the side, so I'm going like that. So I'm trying to load this hip up because a lot of times our hips get really stiff and they don't spin the way they're supposed to. And so one of the things we're trying to do is get this hip moving better and make sure your hip is staying behind your rib cage. So you're going to try to sit into this 45 seconds each leg. So that's the bow hip stretch. That's the second exercise. So the third exercise I want to give you is called a side-to-side rocker. So I would do this with a mat under you, or I'd use something where your knees aren't going to be pounding into the floor. So you're going to have your fists, you're going to have your knees two fists between the knees, okay? And then you're going to have your feet back, but you're going to have your heels away, okay? So what I mean by that is like back like this, okay? So we're going to have you sit back. You're going to have your tail back, go about halfway down. You're not going to be sitting all the way like this. And you're going to have, and then we'll turn. You're going to have one hand on your chest, and you're going to have one hand in front of the armpit. All I want you to do is try to sit back into this hip like this, okay? This reminds me of basketball where you're holding the ball and you're getting into triple threat like you're about to go. Same thing. We're trying to just sit back. We're just learning to load weight through our leg properly. But we're putting our foot, our knee, and our hip all in the right position. They're all moving the correct way so we can move optimally, ultimately when we're standing and running and walking. So we're going back here. Let's do 20 to the right. And then I want you to go back and forth. Okay? So if you do those 3 exercises, I would do 2 rounds of those. It'll take about 5 minutes, and do that consistently for the next 2 weeks. And then I'm going to give you a new round of exercises when I see you in 2 weeks.